very daring today, aren't we? Yeah, I'm going for it. Um, so today I'm going to speak out about Playmates a bit, and I want to talk more in depth about it, a little bit more than the video I made last night. I actually do want to talk about the entire Playmates line so far. Um, for anyone who doesn't know, GVK was originally supposed to come out in March. The Playmates figures came out in December. And our first big reveal of them, I'm talking about the Wave 1 Classics, by the way. Our first big reveal of them was at a expo back in October of 2019. I think October 1st to be exact. The movie GVK was then delayed about a month later. It could be completely possible that Playmates knew this was coming. During their expo, I believe they only had the original figures up, the classics. I do not believe they had any of the Bandai reissues up that they made. I could be wrong, but I don't believe they did. And now here we are a year later. We've had plenty of figures. Currently, it's kind of like the common majority thing to trash on this line. And it is it's just mostly like a meme. But I'm here to be, critical in my own right. I'm going to talk about them objectively and my thoughts on the entire Playmate line. As an owner of the majority of the figures, I'm going to go ahead and speak. So, as you guys, like I said, December, the film was just delayed. We just got our leaked footage GVK. No GVK come out, but the Playmates first line came out. The internet broke. Oh my god, there were so many memes of the Space Godzilla and the Shin. I remember that was insane because they're the only two out. Everyone was saying they copy molds. Everyone was saying all this stuff about them. And, we flash forward now. I own the figures. I do not have the Destroyer or any of the reissues. I didn't feel like buying any of the reissues, even though I've seen all of them. There's just no point. I own all of the original ones, and only Mechagodzilla is slightly different. Like I said, though, Destroyer is the only one I don't own. I can't really speak on him. From what I've seen of him, though, he looks fine. He's not, like, the best Destroyer, but he looks fine. So, for these ones made, again, they're for 4-year-olds. There are other lines, though, like Mattel and stuff, to be fair, that are a lot better for kids' toys. But, people have to give it a chance over time. Hasbro and them, they used to make, from what I remember, really bad Jurassic Park and Jurassic World figures. Way worse than what they made now, from what I've heard. I'm not too big on that line, but there's a lot of companies, they could have some iffy starts. And as we go now, I have the Gigan. The Gigan has, to me, felt... You gotta understand, too, with a lot of these monsters, there's no really, they have so many molds that it's kind of hard to make an original one at this point, unless you do something really dynamic, which can make it look just really crappy. Then people are going to trash about that. For example, the Gigan. A lot of people compare it and say it looks just like this other Gigan. Well, I've seen them, I own one of the Bandai ones, and it's really not the same. It actually is quite a bit different. The mold's quite a bit different. The paint on the Playmates, I will admit, is a little bit lackluster compared to the Bandai. And I do not like the material on the first wave. But other than that, I think the Gigan looks pretty good. I saw another one in stores the other day, and I think that one looks good. I thought the Space Godzilla, since I own it, has a good mold. I think the mold's good. I think the paint is where that figure suffers. If we look at, for example, some of the other stuff that has came out for now, like I've seen some people make repaints and stuff of the Space. If that figure had a good paint job, it would have been perfect, But since it sadly didn't, that's where a lot of people kind of draw the line and say that one's kind of trash. The thing is that it mostly just has a bad paint job, but the mold itself is actually pretty good. I own it. I own the Bandai one. They are very different figures. A lot of people say they're exact same. They're really not. They're actually quite different. And I don't know why that one gets compared so much, but it's really its own thing. Because for some reason, people really do think Playmates steals everything from other lines. But on one hand, there's only so much you can do, and then what they did do, it's quite different. The Shin's a little iffy. I have it in person. It has awful paint, and it has awful, like, it's an awful mold. I won't lie. They really dropped the ball with that one. The tail looks a lot like the neck does. The rest of the body, to me, doesn't necessarily. It just looks weird. It's such a weird figure. And I have no idea what they were saying with that one. And I will agree with everyone, that one's kind of trash. It's not, like, I don't think it's, like, the worst figure I've ever seen. But, like, man, it's definitely, I understand why it was a meme. Like I said, I don't have Destroya. But if you look at the Kongs are original molds as well. You can 100% not argue. They're not based on anything. The little Kong looks great, although I do think the head could be a little different and have a little bit more paint on it. For what you can do with fur and stuff, the big Kong and the little Kong both look great. Again, the material could be a little different. The paint's on them great. The only big issue with them is the nail holes in the back. But other than that, I do really like them. I really like both of them. I think they're great figures for the line. And finally, of the Wave 1 is the big Final Wars. And by the way, on the Kongs, yes, the nail holes in the back are a bit oof. But I mean, to be fair, they are in the back. Most people, if you're collectors, most people are going to be looking at them from the front anyways. So yeah, no, the big Godzilla, I think, is also a great figure. The big Final Wars, I think it's pretty good. My nephew has one too, and he plays with it a lot. I think it looks very different from both of the Bandai molds. I think it's a very unique mold compared to those ones. The feet, I think, are a little too big, but beyond that, I think it actually looks pretty good. That one, I'm not sure why some people want to trash certain things, but it's a very different mold. Overall, Wave 1, the only bad one, because again, I'm not talking about the reissues, the only bad one really was Shin. Like, the only bad one. Space wasn't the best, he just needs a repaint. And sadly, I don't have Destroya, but from what I've seen of him, I would assume he would be fine, and I would like him. So now we fast forward to January. All the GVK figures were leaked. I can't show them. The prototypes, though, looked good. I mean, there's quite a bit of them that look really good. There's a few of them I can't wait for, but I can't say any names. I'm not going to spoil them. But now, I'm an owner of 4 of the 6 of the Wave 1 of GVK that are out. And while I'm looking for the other ones like crazy, I can basically determine how each of these are, since I'm almost missing just one, because I have the 6-inch Godzilla, but there's 2 of them. I have the Atomic Breath one, and there's also one with the radio tower that I don't have, but it's basically the same figure. So what about these ones? The Giant Kong looked great mold-wise. I think it has a great mold. Problem is, it's having some weird paint issues right now that I think they will improve on later. But as of right now, I do not... I mean, like, it looks... I do think mold-wise it looks great, but I think it has similar issues to Space Godzilla. It just needs some better paint. But most of them, from what I've seen, other than a few of them that are really black, I mean, they look fine. I think they're a little too dark. But I mean, once you can get past that, it's actually a pretty good figure. I think it feels very sturdy, and I can see it being very fun to play with. And it's actually a really, it's probably one of my favorite Playmates so far. As for the big Godzilla, a lot of people already want to say that compare it to Jax. I like the Playmates Giant Godzilla more than the Jax Godzilla. Both of them have some issues. The nail holes in the neck and the side are really annoying. Don't know why they did that. The mold looks very different, though, overall from the Jax and the big Bandai, like some people were comparing it to. It has its own unique feel to it. I do really like it. It's really, definitely is a good one for kids. It has some really unique positioning with the tail that always interested me. And there's not much I can really say about it, but like I do like it. I do think it's a little too blue. But overall, with some of the issues and stuff on it, there's not, like, I think some people really over-criticize that one. As we move on to the 6-inch, for the 6-inch Godzilla, I think the 6-inch Godzilla it's pretty good in person. I do think it's definitely one of their best ones. It has a really nice Atomic Breath piece. Great one for the audience they're going for. It has some pretty surprisingly decent articulation with, like, the tail and stuff. And I do really enjoy it. I don't have the Skull Crawler, so I can't really talk about him or the other Godzilla. But the other Godzilla is basically the same, just with some different coloring and a paint tower. The show stealer is the 6-inch Kong. If they had this quality in all their figures, this line would be amazing. One of the best lines coming out right now. These are less than $10. And the 6-inch Kong has great detailing. I'm looking at it right now. The accessory looks really good. It's insanely good. Has really good articulation. You can put it in some really dynamic and unique poses, and it just feels really good to have in your hand. It feels like one of the best figures in my collection, low key. I'm not gonna lie, and I have a big collection, and it's so weird because these figures still kind of have that hard plastic to them, but I do really enjoy them. A 6-inch Kong, I would say, is almost perfect. My biggest issue with these 6-inch figures is the battle damage. It's not the worst thing in the world. It's just a gimmicky thing for kids. Once you put it on, though, I mean, if you're looking at it in certain lighting and stuff, it's not that bad. Half the time I forget there's even the battle damage gimmick on it. Most of the ones I have, the battle damage stays in just fine. It looks really good. I do really like all the GVK ones so far. I think they're great. I mean, I think for the most part, it's been keeping the fan base busy. It's a good thing they're out. In my opinion, we got really good figures, and they're holding the fan base over currently, with everyone hunting for them, instead of everyone just begging for a trailer, which I do really like. And I'm super excited for the Skullcrawler. I have seen some review stuff. That one looks great. Now, flash forward the other night, we have revealed 4 more classics coming out, and there's actually a 5th one, which I will talk about afterwards. And we've only seen one. And it looks like it's somewhat another Shin situation. Kind of. So, they revealed a 6-inch Final Wars. That's basically a shrunken down one of their big one, which, like I said, I really like their big one. I think their big one looks great. This one has some issues with its dorsal plate. I think it should have an extra spot. There's a little bit of a gap. The biggest issue is the head. I don't even think the head would be as much of an issue if they placed the pupils lower. Instead, they put the pupils really high, and he looks extremely derpy. I don't know why they put the pupils where they did on the Final Wars. I think they should have put them more forward. But there's a review of it. Person talked about it, gave me a little bit more confidence. The biggest issue with this figure is the head mold. The head mold is the main issue. Everything else looks pretty good on it. The paint, the articulation, and the big news from it is that they're going more vinyl now. I'm so happy they're going to make more vinyl. Now we have a 2014, a 74, which I'm super hyped for, and a Burning coming out. Not specify which one, but it's probably going to be 95. I think, yes, the Final Wars will probably be maybe the new Shin. Now, until I can see the other ones, I can only talk about the Final Wars as the only one that decides this wave, sadly. But, in my opinion, I feel like it's one of those ones that will look better in person. I think they need to do a better head mold with a little bit better paint, and maybe it just spikes, and it would have looked great. But no one would have gave it that fair treatment either way. And that's wave 2. Now, as I said, though, there is one more coming out, and they are reissuing the Giant Kong 2017. I believe they're giving him a new paint job that's way more glossy and stuff. I haven't seen any pictures of it. I'm not really going to talk about it. There's not really anything to talk about since it's not there. Same figure, just with a different paint job, I believe. I don't know if it has any different body proportions. Overall, as a whole, if I had to rate Playmates' lines based on certain stuff and the ones I own, the classic figures so far, the ones I own and some of the ones I've seen, not counting the Bandai re-releases, I would give them about, and judge them solely, not trying to compare them to NECA or something, on their own, I would say roughly it's about a 6.5, 7 out of 10. I think the figures themselves could have used some improvement, but there's more good in them than bad, and a lot of people don't give them the credit for that. And for the GVK line, I would give it a solid 7.5, 8 out of 10 out of the ones I've owned so far. These figures, I think, actually do have a lot of potential. I think Playmates needs to take way more time with the classic figures to make sure all of them get right and not just a few. But man, their GVK line is insanely good. And we've seen they've had these done since at least January, if not way sooner. And this is just how they're turning out now. I am super excited to see what they do in the future. I can't wait for the Wave 2 of GVK, and hopefully the 2014 74 looks good. This is just a quick little rant and stuff. I just wanted to give myself an overview look at the Playmates and what is my opinion. You're free to disagree with me. It's my opinion. Yours, it's all fair, whatever you guys want to talk about. This is just my opinion, and I don't have to let it determine yours. I'm just talking about it. I don't think Playmates. I think Playmates gets a little too harsh. They have a lot of stuff they have to do with all these delays happening in this time of COVID, and I think some of it's not their fault. But that's all, guys. Hope you enjoy as always. Please share, subscribe, and as always, peace out and bye bye.